So what we've actually tried to do is take all of the projections that various chief economists of various banks and insurance firms and consumer goods firms are making, and sort of pull all of that together and try to get that sort of wisdom from those expert groups. And what we found is that a good 30% of people are still expecting that there will be a V-shaped recovery. But that is a staggered V across multiple economies because the impact of the virus is, of course, staggered. And so globally, we're looking at a sort of U shape. Now, how long that takes is really going to depend on the types of actions governments take today, and frankly, also that employers take today. A good 35% of people were either incredibly uncertain, or some of them were even expecting sort of a long L shape and a very sort of long depression. And the reason behind that was, one, they felt that there really wasn't enough coordination between monetary and fiscal policy. Two, that there really wasn't the sort of global coordination response that we saw at the time of the global financial crisis. We're just not seeing that kind of global coordination. Third, a lot of people are concerned that even when we're sort of really pulling out the big guns, really sort of trying to have big responses, big packages of support, that the channels don't really exist to get this into the hands of households. And then finally, fourth, that employers are just very badly prepared. A couple of quick facts. We looked at our business data, and less than 10% of employers were even remotely thinking about pandemics in their planning. And less than 50% had ever tried remote work even for a part of their workforce. And so again, just sort of the sense of being caught off guard is, I think, why we're seeing the instability right now.
And Sadia, just briefly, what will the world look like post the coronavirus? Could we see a huge rise where we're going to see things get back to normal quite quickly, or could this last a long time?
I mean, I think, I can only repeat what we've heard from the experts. As you said, it's sort of split up into thirds, and the shape of that recovery is what's going to deliver what that post-COVID world looks like. At the same time, though, I think there are quite a few people who are starting to predict that we might see some fairly major structural changes in the future. So much more remote work than we've had in the past, much less business travel than we've had in the past. Some long-lasting impacts on carbon emissions because of that. And so we're starting to see a much more of a focus on really building those resilient social safety nets that we just didn't have in many advanced economies. And I think that's what we're seeing a lot of the fallout from, building much better health systems than we've had in the past. So I think if there's a sort of silver lining, it is that some of these things that were perhaps almost necessary adjustments that have been ignored for too long, we can hope that we'll build more of those resilient systems in the future.